We are now on the record. This is the video deposition of Amy Bouque. Today is August 25th, 2011. The time is 9:31 a.m. My name is George Larkins, CLVS, and notary for the County of Oakland, Michigan. We're here today in the matter of Venus Springs versus Ally Financial Inc., FKA GMAC Inc., Amy Bouque, Kathleen Patterson, Yaquan Bill Yee, and Cynthia Dottridge. This matter is being held in the United States District Court for the Western District of North Carolina, Charlotte Division, case number 310-CV-311. We are located today at 200 Renaissance Center in Detroit, Michigan. Will counsel please state their appearances, at which time I will swear in the witness.
My name is Venus Springs, and I am the plaintiff, and I am representing myself.
My name is Richard McAtee from the law firm of Jackson Lewis, located at 1400 Crescent Green, Suite 215, Cary, North Carolina, 27518. And I represent defendant Ally and the deponent, Ms. Bouque.
Ms. Bouque, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please proceed.
Ms. Bouque, my name is Venus Springs, and I'm going to introduce, I know we've met before, but I'm introducing myself on the record. I'm representing myself in two cases against Ally Financial, formerly known as GMAC, and against several individuals personally, of which you are one of them. The one we're here today has been filed in the Western District of North Carolina. I am having a little problem with my throat, so I don't know how I'm going to last, and if my voice goes out, I apologize. I want to get some preliminaries out the way. Have you ever had your deposition taken before?
No, I have not.
Okay. Well, then I'm just going to go through the ground rules the same way as I would for any other deponent. While we're on the record, it is important that we don't speak over each other, so if you can wait until I finish my question before answering, I would appreciate it. Likewise, if you are actually answering my question, I will try to wait to allow you to finish the answer. However, if the question you did not understand my question, or if you did not hear it, feel free to ask me to repeat it and rephrase it. And if while you're answering my question, I find it's clear that you did not understand it, I may interrupt you and try to rephrase and make sure you understood my question. Another important item to remember is not to nod or in order to indicate yes or no. For one thing, I cannot see you, so I won't know. Also, it is not good for the record. We need you to clearly state yes or no so that we understand what you mean. Also, try not to use words like and And if you think of anything later on in the deposition that you think will answer a question that I asked earlier in the deposition, you can feel free to let me know. And if you need a break for any reason, also feel free to let me know. Do you have any questions for me before we begin?
No, I do not.
Excuse me. Please state your full name for the record and spell your last name.
Amy Justice Bouque, B-O-U-Q-U-E.
Or what was the middle name?
Justice, J-U-S-T-I-C-E.
Okay. Did you review any documents to prepare for the deposition?
I did review 4 documents.
Could you please tell me what the documents were?
Certainly. The first document I reviewed was the EEOC response that I prepared in response to your charge against the company. The second document I reviewed was the Code of Conduct, the company's Code of Conduct, which includes the conflict of interest. The third document I reviewed was the higher right verification of employment information we received in this matter. And the final document that I reviewed was the mutual separation release that had been provided to you by the company.
Did you have anything in your office, on your computer, or anything that you looked at about this case not given to you by an attorney?
No.
How much time did you spend looking at documents in preparation?
Just a few minutes.
Okay. A few minutes meaning less than 30 or like less than 15?
You're asking me how many minutes did I spend looking at the documents?
Yes. And when you said, I asked you how much time, you said a few minutes. I want to understand what your concept of few means.
Okay. Approximately 15 minutes looking at all 4 documents.
Okay, thank you. Did you speak with anyone else about this deposition other than your attorney?
The only person I spoke to is my husband.
Okay, and what did you say?
I just told him what I was doing today and gave him a little bit of understanding of it.
Okay. What is your date of birth?
January 6th, 1969.
What is your residence address, please?
3817 Estates, Estates Drive, Troy, Michigan, 48084.
And since you said you had a husband, I'm going to gather that you're married. How long have you been married?
15 years.
And what is the name of your spouse?
Michael.
Have you been married before?
No.
Do you have any children?
We do.
What are their ages?
I have a son, Tyler, Tyler. He's 11. I have a daughter, Mallory, Mallory, and she's 8.
Okay. Do you know anybody who works for the federal government?
Not off top of mind, no.
Okay. Other than your employment at Alley Financial Inc., do you work for anyone else?
I do not.
Do you or your husband have a business for which either of you are sole or part owner?
No.
What does your husband do for work?
He's a stay-at-home father.
Okay. Do you belong to any outside organizations or clubs? For example, the YWCA, a church.
I do.
Would you please state them?
Certainly. I am an active member at our church, the First United Methodist Church. I belong to the YMCA. I belong to a local Human Resources Association chapter. And I have a membership at a local neighborhood swim club.
Okay. Have you ever been convicted of or pled guilty to a felony?
No.
Have you ever been convicted of or pled guilty to any misdemeanors?
No.
Are you on any medication today that will affect your ability to recall events or to testify accurately?
No.
Did you go to a college or university?
I did.
Which one?
My undergraduate degree is from Michigan State University, and my graduate degree is from Wayne State University.
What degree did you get?
My undergraduate degree is a multidisciplinary degree with a major in employee relations. My master's degree is in the School of Labor Relations. It was a master's of industrial relations.
And when did you get your master's?
1992.
How long have you worked for Ally Financial?
Since July of 2008.
And what is your current title?
Director of Human Resources.
How long have you been in that position?
We have the same reporting relationship level. I don't know about his pay grade or band. I assume it's the same.
Okay. Have you ever testified at a trial before?
I have not at an NLRB charge, so National Labor Relations Board charge in the year 2000.
Okay. That was like an administrative proceeding?
Correct.
Why did you testify?
It was the company representative for a union charge that had been filed against the company to which I worked.
Which company was it that?
That was the ThyssenKrupp Bud Company.
Are you familiar with the employment selection process at Ally Financial?
Yes.
Can you describe the employment selection process that's been in existence starting with from July 2008 or whenever you've gotten hired?
Okay. I can speak in general terms. I think sort of for the record, you need to understand that different selections, different levels in the organization require different selection requirements. But just in general terms, I can describe that when an opening exists, there's an approval process to get the opening replaced. Then there's a posting process where the position is posted both externally and internally to allow candidates to apply for the roles. The hiring manager works with the recruiter once candidates are identified to select those that meet the requirements of the role or most qualified for the role. They're then interviewed by the hiring manager, perhaps peers or one level up leaders, the recruiter. In some cases, they're also interviewed by the HR person, but that depends on level of the organization and the level of involvement of the HR person in the role. The candidate is selected for the position, and then an offer is prepared by the recruiter and the hiring manager, reviewed by the HR business partner. So the role that I serve, sort of the background, the role fit, and the comp package is reviewed reviewed and approved by the HR business partner, and then subsequently an offer is extended.
Now, does the process change if the person is a manager level?
When you refer to manager level, what are you referring to? Please clarify.
You have different bands, I hear. Is that correct? So someone who would be maybe a band 3 or band 2 where they're getting higher up and they're going to supervise people or,
So thank you for clarifying. Not necessarily. Definitely when you talk about what we refer to as the band 1, which is the senior leaders, so that's sort of the CEO, his DRs, and usually one DR below that, but not always. That level, the process does change, certainly. But the band 2s generally, which are the manager director levels, those generally follow that process, although the higher up it goes in the organization, so senior director or director levels may be involved. The HR business partner might be more actively involved than where the recruiter generally leads it from the sort of the 2D and below.
Okay. In the position that you supported when you first started, which was procurement and legal, during that time period, can you describe Ally's policy or procedure for transferring employees from one department or operational unit to another department or unit?
I'm not sure there was a stated policy at that time. I'd have to look at the record.
Do you know if it ever happened where say someone was in a procurement and they transferred to finance, or someone was in one legal department and transferred to another, or do you know if it happened and there just was no policy that you remember, or that it just doesn't happen?
It certainly happened, but at that moment, the context of our company and the state we were in, especially later in 2008 into 2009, the intercompany transfers were and the hiring at that time was very infrequent due to the state of our company. I mean, certainly it happened. We did transfers, or people had took on new roles within the company, but it wasn't as prevalent as it might be today based on the state of the company.
What was the state of the company?
We were near bankrupt. And as such, we had restrictions on hiring by late 2008 and into 2009. And people were leaders were generally unwilling to transfer people because they couldn't afford to not backfill that position.
What is the state of the company now?
We've had 6 quarters of profitability. Still have a large debt to pay the U.S. government, but much better position than we were then.
Has Ally, to your knowledge, has Ally ever submitted any reports to any department or agency of the United States government or any state that includes a race or sex breakdown of employees or applicants for employment?
Objection form, you may answer.
Can you restate the question, please?
Sure. Has Ally Financial ever submitted any reports to any department or agency, hold on now, I have to cough, excuse me, of the United States government or any state that includes a race or sex breakdown of employees or applications for employment?
Same objection, you may answer.
That's not within my purview. That's not within my responsibility, so I'm not aware.
Okay. What department would know something like that?
I can only speculate that it would be within Jeff Yacom's space.
Okay. Since you have been at Ally Financial, how many African women have you been involved in the hire of?
I don't know a number. In many cases, I'm hiring people remotely located, and I've not interviewed the person over the phone or in the room, so I don't know an answer to that question.
Well, of those that you know, is it less than 5, less than 20?
My number would just be a guess.
That's all I'm asking.
Objection, speculation, you may answer.
I would guess around 20 to 30. I would speculate.
And how many have you been involved in the hire of total since you've been? I mean, people total of all backgrounds.
Objection form, you may answer.
Because of my role, I have oversight responsibility for now 800 people that are located around the globe, including countries like Brazil and Mexico and Colombia and Chile, Germany, Belgium, France, Italy. Many hiring decisions are being made in those locations that are technically under my jurisdiction, and I authorize the employment offers. I would speculate 100 to, I don't know, maybe 150 to 200, roughly, in the last 3 years.
Do you ever interview candidates?
Infrequently, very infrequently.
How many people have you been involved in their termination?
Any person that's terminated, in a for-cause termination or in a layoff situation, so any involuntary terminations I'm involved with.
How many do you think it's been?
Objection form.
Can you repeat that? How many employees do you think you have been involved in their termination since 2008?
Can we clarify what the term termination means?
Their departure, which is less than 100% willing.
Okay, so
Meaning firing, a layoff, a so-called voluntary termination where they're being told to voluntarily leave. Something those items. Not a resignation.
thank you for the clarification. I would estimate somewhere between 80 and 100.
Thank Thank you. And when you're involved with those type of terminations, do you know the race of the people who are being terminated?
Does the company have, do I have access to the information? Absolutely.
Okay, do you have any idea how many of those were African American women?
Not without going back to look at the records, Venus. No, I do not.
Can you give me a list of third parties who do work on behalf of Ally in Human Resources?
Objection form. You may answer.
I'm sorry, can you restate the question? I don't understand.
I want to know the third party contractors or things that HR outsources
Okay,
that you know of.
All right. So we leverage contractors within our recruiting space because it's a volume-sensitive area. So we often work with third-party contractors to support us in that area. We also have outsourced many of our ancillary services, and I don't have the names of all of the third parties that we work with, but all of our benefits administration, including things like 401k, COBRA administration, any of the benefits support. And we've also outsourced our transactional HR work. So all of the work in our system is done, through a third party. We've outsourced our verification of employment process. Those are top of mind for me, Venus. I'd have to think more, look at it more, but those are generally, we outsourced a significant portion of the HR administrative, so that I hope that explains the answer.
What is transactional HR work?
The processing of transactions is done through our manager self-service, but the tool is, I'm drawing a blank on, it's Accenture. Accenture has a third-party call center that resolves individual concerns or issues relative to how they're in the system. So if a leader's transferring somebody and they've sort of made a mistake in the system, a third party through our Accenture call center or Accenture support center would resolve that for them. Leave administration is done through third party. Accenture.
Sorry. When you say leverage recruiters, that means you use you allow third party. Let me just ask you, what does that mean? Sorry.
So we have contract employees who support us in the recruiting function in many of the areas.
Will they find applicants for you?
They will screen applicants. They will help source, find areas to secure applicants. They will help screen them and work with the hiring manager through that process.
Do you have any friends or relatives that work at Mayor Brown or have worked at Mayor Brown?
I do not.
After I was terminated, was that position was that position filled with someone else?
I don't recall.
What is Mayor Brown's relationship with Ally Financial?
Objection form. You may answer.
I'm not aware of the current relationship, Venus. I haven't been supporting the legal team or the procurement team for the last 18 months.
What was the relationship 18 months ago?
Same objection. You may answer.
My understanding of the relationship is that Ally or GMAC at the time had hundreds of law firm vendors supplying legal services to GMAC, around the globe or in all the, locations in a variety of services. And Mayor Brown was in what I understood to be the top 10 providers of legal services to the organization.
So GMAC was paying Mayor Brown, correct? Mayor Brown was not paying GMAC.
Mayor Brown was providing services to GMAC, to which GMAC was paying for those services.
Okay. When did you first find out that I sued Mayor Brown for race discrimination?
I learned through a forward of an email roughly 2 to 4 weeks before you were terminated. I don't know the exact date.
Who forwarded the email?
Bob Neaton.
And who was the email that forwarded from?
I don't recall. My recollection is that he subscribed to some blog or some website that the information was contained in the email directly to him.
And who is Bob Neaton?
Bob Neaton is a legal leader in our in-house legal team.
Did he say anything in the email?
It's been a long time since I looked at it. I don't recall.
You don't recall anything it said?
It would be a speculation. I don't recall what he said to me in that email.
I'm fine with speculation. Speculate.
Objection, speculation, you may answer if you can.
I seem to recall him asking me if I was aware that you had filed a lawsuit against Mayor Brown, and was I aware there'd be a potential conflict of interest based on your role in negotiating or potentially negotiating terms and conditions with them.
And what was in the email? What was it that he forwarded? You said it was a blog or something?
It was a blog, a link to a blog that had an article written by a third party about the legal action you had taken against Mayor Brown for your termination from them.
Do you remember what website that was?
I don't.
Do you know Cynthia Doutrick?
I do.
Do you know what date she left GMAC?
I don't.
Do you have any idea?
Roughly September 2009. I don't recall. I'd have to look at notes or a file. I don't recall, but that would be a rough estimate.
Do you know why she left?
The company had reorganized. As I mentioned previously, procurement had previously rolled up to, or been a direct report to Bill Muir, the president of the auto. It was moved over to the Global Tech and Ops group, to which sort of the role had been reshaped previously, and under Cliff Skelton, and a decision was made to eliminate the role that Cynthia was in, and then redistribute her work to existing management leads.
Do you know who her work went to?
Dan Drees.
You say Drees?
Drees, D-R-E-E-S.
Okay. And who was he?
I don't remember the title he held, but he was a senior leader in the Global Tech and Ops group. Previously, I think for the record, it probably makes sense to bring to your attention that when Cynthia had her original role, she had both the corporate workplace or the facilities role and the procurement. That had changed while she was employed, where she only had the procurement work. And then the procurement work is what went to Dan Dries.
Okay.
So her role had been de-scoped, and then eventually her position was eliminated and her work was, assumed by Dan Dries.
Do you know how long Cynthia Daltrick had been there?
Are you asking how long she had been employed at the company?
Yes.
Roughly 2 years, maybe 2.5. I didn't hire her.
Do you know Bill He?
I do.
You know when he started at the company?
I don't know his exact time. I believe it was a few months subsequent to Cynthia's hire.
Do you know when he left GMAC?
Roughly December of 2009.
And why was he separated? Why?
It was a mutual separation release.
Why was he separated? No.
I haven't thought about the details behind it, so I'd have to review my notes. But as I recall, there was a sort of a job fit. I think we were able to eliminate his layer in the organization, because when Dan picked up just the procurement work, there was a restructuring, and we were able to, eliminate his position because it became redundant, and we used the mutual separation release.
Did you ask him to voluntarily resign?
No, we used the mutual separation release.
What does that mean? You handed him a paper without saying anything? What does it mean when you say we used a mutual separation release?
The company and Bill sat down and reviewed the future organizational structure and the requirements in the organization, and explained where the organization was headed and the fact that we could do without his role. He helped us through maybe a 60 or 90-day transition, and we offered him a mutual separation release in aiding the company through the transition, and then to help him with his subsequent transition.
So do you remember what was in the mutual separation release?
I don't recall the terms of the agreement.
So to be clear, the company decided that his position was unnecessary, and they met with him and told him that, correct? So that was the company's decision.
Objection,
Okay.
characterization, you may answer.
Is that correct?
Not the way you've stated it. It's correct that we met with Bill over a period of time as we talked through the new organization under Dan Dries, and the company came to the conclusion that the role wasn't necessary, and he helped us through the transition.
Are you implying or stating that Bill was he wanted to leave the company, that he decided along with the company that he should be leaving?
He understood, Bill He understood the direction of the company and supported us through the transition.
You're saying he had cognizant understanding of what was going on. Is that what you're saying? When you say he understood?
Yes, and he, my recollection, I haven't looked at the information in over a year and a half time, is that he, Bill, sort of advocated for the new organizational structure, helped us through a moment of transition, a 60, 90-day transition, was very supportive. If you're asking me directly, did he want to leave? No, he did not want to leave his employment. Did he understand where the company was going and help us through the transition and do so very professionally and very much in assistance to helping us as the organization took shape? Yes, he did that very well.
He was getting paid for that, correct?
He was on the payroll of the company at the time, yes.
When did James Pearson leave? First of all, do you know James Pearson?
Yes, I do.
Do you know when he left?
Roughly June, July of 2009.
What reason did he give for leaving?
He voluntarily resigned his employment to go pursue work that more closely met his expertise and background.
When you say June or July, do you know if he left before or after I was terminated? I was terminated on July 10th, 2009.
I believe he left subsequent to you leaving. In fact, I know he did. He left after you did.
Tell me, did you ever obtain a copy of my complaint against Mayor Brown?
I seem to recall that the information forwarded to me by Bob Neaton had a copy of your complaint embedded in the blog or the website.
What did you do with that email?
I don't recall. I may have forwarded it to Kathy Patterson. I don't recall.
Name every person to whom you spoke to about my lawsuit or my relationship with Mayor Brown.
Objection form. You may answer.
Are you? Can you give me a time period? You know, what are you? I don't understand what are you asking. Just in general, specific to the time of your termination?
I mean, ever. Since you learned about it.
Since I learned about it, what is it, please?
The lawsuit. My lawsuit against Mayor Brown.
I spoke to Jim Pearson, Kathy Patterson, Bill He, Bill Shanker, Cynthia Dottridge, Cliff Skelton, Dreama Kalajian, Frank Kaplicki, Rick McAtee, Lee Blassingame, Jeff Kearney, trying to think of Jeff Kearney's boss. I think the head of global security. I can't recall his name. We leveraged outside counsel work for the EEOC response. I believe her name is Marlo Roebuck.
Is that it? All you can remember? Is there anyone else?
That's all I can remember right now, Venus. If I think of anyone else, I'll bring it up.
And I would instruct, and I would instruct the witness not to disclose any conversations she had with any of those persons who are attorneys or when those attorneys were present in any conversation.
Okay, thank you.
That's only if you were seeking counsel. You do have attorneys like Bob Neaton who forwarded you emails that were not in the process of seeking counsel. So.
Thank you for the clarification.
Did any other employees ask you about the complaints? besides Bob Neaton, or casually, or gossiping, or rumors?
I don't recall. There, it may have been. It's been a few years. It may have been also that another leader, Sandy Oakes, may have also obtained information through a separate source and provided it to me, but I don't remember that. I don't remember that specifically, but it seems to me I may have spoken to her about it.
Do you know who Rick Kent is?
I know who Rick Kent is, yes.
Did he ever speak to you or email you about it?
Not to my recollection.
Do you know Hugh Benton?
I do.
Did he ever email or speak to you about it? The
Not-
complaint?
Yeah, not to my recollection.
Do you get involved in internal discrimination complaints, grievances, or EEOC charges?
I do.
Since you've been there, can you give me a guess estimate how many you've been involved? How many internal discrimination complaints, EEOC charges, or lawsuits have you been involved in?
Objection form, you may answer.
In the 3 years, I would estimate somewhere between 5 and 10.
What are the names of the employees that you can remember?
Objection form, foundation, you may answer. Relevance, you may answer.
A woman named Jadwiga, Jadwiga, Anderle, Anderle. An employee, Rashana, RaushanaH, Green, Green. Those two are top of mind. Those are, recent activity or involving the EEOC. The others, I don't recall specific names. Again, I currently support 800 people, previously supported 300 different people, and the names are not top of mind to me.
Well, you said put 5 to 10 people, though, right?
Yeah, yes. I'm on the chain. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm on the chain for the HR business partner is in the process. That if a person has a concern in the workplace, HR is one avenue for which that concern can be brought forward. They have different levels of complexity in terms of how those issues are solved, and so sort of the larger EEOC legal matters are sort of top of mind, and those names are the ones I've just provided you. There are others to which I may be involved just in a light meeting between the employee or the leader, or more thoroughly investigated using other means. But those are the two that come to mind.
Can you give me a list of all documents that you reviewed in connection with your investigation of me when I was employed and during the EEOC investigation?
Can you restate that to make sure I understand?
I would like to know all the documents, a description of all the documents you reviewed when you investigated me in 2009, and also when you replied to the EEOC.
Certainly. Thank you very much. I recall receiving the notes from your interviews with Jim Pearson, and the diary from your conversation with, I'm going to forget his name. I'll have to come back to it. You interviewed with a gentleman in Charlotte who was a senior procurement leader prior to your prior to your offer being extended with ALI. I had the investigative report from Lee Blassingame. I had the documents provided from Higher Right. I had your code of conduct, your conflict of interest form provided from Accenture. I had your training records provided from Accenture. I had all, the interview notes and emails provided from Beth Raymer, Stacy Swanson, who were involved in your recruiting. To the best of my knowledge, that's what I had. And haven't looked at it in a few years.
Did anyone review my email?
Can you help me understand by what you mean by review your emails?
Someone go through my inbox, outbox, and through the system and review those documents, the email, those electronic documents.
Speculation, as I recall, that was part of the investigation performed by security.
By who?
By security, by Lee Blassingame's group, Jeff Kearney's group.
Do you know if you or anyone spoke with anyone at Mayor Brown during this investigation or subsequently?
No.
No, you don't know, or no, they didn't?
No, I did not. And
Okay.
no, to the best of my knowledge, no one spoke to anyone at Mayor Brown.
Okay. Okay, I have no further questions.
I have no questions either. The witness does not waive.
Deposition concluded at 10:29.